Hello everybody, guess what? I'm back with more tulle action, just like I promised. This time I will show you how to make an adorable lion costume for a little girl. So let's get started. For the headdress, you will need squares of felt in two different browns, yarn, and a small sized crochet elastic hairband. I decided about 5 inches was a good length for the yarn strings, which means I need to cut them at 10 inches since I'll be folding them in half. You can cut them out one at a time, but to save you a lot of time, I recommend you cut 2 small pieces of cardboard at your desired length and tape them together, but leaving the 2 ends untaped so you can slide your scissors through there. Once your strings of yarn are ready, then you can begin knotting them on your headband. To do this, you will be using the same technique that we use when doing our tulle skirt. Do so in every other hole on your headband. For the ears, make a pattern like this. I used a 1/4 seam allowance for the bigger piece pattern, and the smaller one will be just sewn on top so it doesn't need any seam allowance. Then cut the fabric out using the patterns. First thing we're gonna do is to sew the small earpiece to one of the bigger ones. Once you have them ready, then you can sew the 2 big pieces together, but only at the curve. The bottom will be left open. Notch your seam allowance and turn it right side out. Then put a little bit of filling through the opening to give them some shape. Put them in the position that you want them and begin hand sewing them in place. I decided to add smaller strings of yarn around the ears, but of course that would take you more time, so that's completely optional. I just think it makes it look fuller and separates the colors nicely. Another thing you can do to add fullness to the headdress is to unravel the yarn, and you don't have to do every single one of them. Just by doing a few, you will see the difference. For the dress, I bought a yard of crochet elastic fabric. Try to find a color that matches your color theme. Measure the circumference of the tummy area on your baby and cut your piece of fabric about 3 to 5 inches smaller. Then sew the 2 ends together. Cut your rolls of tulle fabric at the desired length, whether you want it to be knee length or above or below the knee. And remember, you're doubling that measurement since the strips are folded in half. If you can't find the little rolls of tulle fabric, just buy it by the yard like I did. It would just take you a little longer. For decoration purposes, I added this rope-like trim. But if you end up doing something like this, I suggest you use a trim that stretches as much as your fabric. If it doesn't stretch, then make sure the length of it is at least 1 inch bigger than that of the baby's tummy. Then you can begin putting the strips of tulle through your fabric. Since I have this cool design with my rope trim going on, I figured out a way to cover the empty spaces, which is basically putting the 2 ends of the tulle strip through different holes as opposed to putting them through the same one. Okay, with that said, you can avoid doing all of this by just tying some ribbon around the waist once the baby is wearing the dress. You just want to give some definition to the dress by keeping the top part flatter than the bottom. And I continued my design by adding 2 more rows of the trim, buttons, and some more of the same trim to hold it in place. Then I made a diaper cover using brown flannel fabric and the pattern from one of my previous videos. Once you have the 2 pieces cut out, then sew them together at the sides and the crotch. Fold the waistline and the leg holes 1/4 in and then fold again a 1/2 inch to make the casing for your elastic, leaving a small opening through which you'll put it in. or just do the method I used in my other video. And of course, a lion needs a tail, so I made a pattern for the tail that looks like this, which is about 14 inches long. I cut out my pieces out of the same brown flannel fabric. Then I sewed them together but leaving the bottom open. Notch and trim where needed and turn it right side out. I then twisted 2 pipe cleaners together and put them in the tail, along with a little bit of filling. The pipe cleaners will make the tail bendy instead of just laying flat. And then sew to close the opening. The last step is to add strings of yarn to the bottom of the tail, the same way I added the yarn to the ears before, and unravel for extra volume. Once you finish the tail, it can be hand sewn to the dress or the ribbon if you're using one at the waist. In my case, I hand sewed a set of snaps on the tail, so I could just snap the tail onto the trim of the dress, and this way it's also removable. For some reason, I couldn't stop there, and I ended up making little pads for her hands and some little sandals as well, but that is completely unnecessary. I know there are a bunch of cute little shoes out there to match this costume, but it was just the overachiever in me that wanted to go all out for this little one. But anyways, once you have your headdress, the dress, and the little tail, this costume is pretty much complete. Believe me, this is not that complicated to make and there is not much sewing required, but the end result looks so cute.